Live coverage from the nation's capital this morning after the long night of deal making that ultimately did present a deal, or so they hope, of $38.5 billion in proposed cuts to last year's budget. Technically, that has about 5 or 6 months to run on it. You've heard from a lot of House Republicans who had said this was the best we could do because we don't control the Senate, we don't control the White House, to a fellow who at least wants to affect the equation for now in the Senate in Virginia, George Allen, the former governor of that esteemed state, former senator, who wants back in the Senate, and polls seem to show that he would have a very good shot of getting back in. Not that you pay attention to the polls. Good to have you, Senator.
Good to be with you.
What do you make of this? I mean, you and I were saying during the break, say what you will of the process, it's a weird process. Why do we have to keep going through this?
It's dysfunctional. I mean, we're in dangerous debt, bankrupting the country, and it is dysfunctional here. Nowhere else in the world, or in, let's say, the real world, in people's households or businesses, would you be going 6 months into the year and still haven't even determined a budget. And what, in effect, they're doing is, say, like a family's got $1,000 to pay in a monthly bill, and they only have $600 to pay their electric bill, credit card bills, and so forth, and just say, well, we're just going to keep rolling over $400 every month on our credit card bill.
But we do, and
that's what's going on here.
I don't see anything to change it, do you?
And this is just a very modest and I think disappointing to me, because I think the cuts need to be much more significant than this. And it is a leverage point, and there'll be a leverage point at various, whether it's the debt ceiling or whether it's Paul Ryan's pathway to progress.
But what if you tip the balance in the Senate?
Well,
how would that change the dynamics?
It would change all the dynamics. Harry Reid, because he cares about the cowboy poetry in northern Nevada and different things like that, doesn't even allow a vote. Complete irresponsibility in the Senate, and every vote counts in the Senate. I'd like to be the deciding vote to pass a balanced budget requirement in the Senate. The other thing to do is we need to get back to basics. In the real world, if a contractor doesn't get his or her job done on time, they don't get paid. All of these members of Congress, ever since October 1st of last year, I think their pay ought to be withheld. I guarantee you'd see better activity and not this sort of machinations and dysfunctionality.
Governor, why do we always resort to, and this is where Republicans get the rant of looking impetuous, where we're going to shut the government down. We're going to shut the government down. And they keep doing it.
Well, there's an urgency. We just cannot continue. The spending has just been skyrocketing.
I understand that. But do you think that strategy, I guess you could argue that it works insofar as you do extract some concessions to the other side.
Well, yes, leverage.
But it gets old, right? When you threaten the very continuation of the U.S. government to get your way.
Well, the taxpayers have paid money into the government. I guarantee that taxpayers are not going to get extensions to pay their taxes on April 15th. The reason we're in this position is because the Democrats, when they controlled both the House, the Senate, and the White House, did nothing last year.
Understood, but that wasn't the case in '95. That wasn't the case in '90, and both parties. But we always come to this tactic where, well, we don't get our way.
Well, it's because of irresponsible behavior, and I think there could be a pox on both houses with it. But if we change and reform the way that Washington does business, you won't get into these situations. That's why I think if you do have a balanced budget requirement in the Constitution, if you see how states operate, I know as governor that you get your budgets done on time. It may run a day or so late, but you don't have this kind of situation going on time after time, which really is disruptive and wastes the taxpayers' money, especially if you're delaying maintenance, let's say, on naval warfare ships and so forth. And so I really believe that this is a time more than ever for reform, and that's why I want to get into the Senate and fight for the people, their voices, the values of Virginians and Americans who say we really do need to get our government under control, operating properly, reining in the spending, and unleash our American energy resources, create more jobs, get our country prosperous and competitive again, rather than this.
Stop these shenanigans, right?
Exactly.
Because we want to see the Cherry Blossom Festival.
Well, yeah, it's nice to see the Cherry Blossom Festival. That's fine, but that's not a function of government. Let the localities fund that with sponsors.
Thank you very, very much. Fair and balanced view from the other side right now. We have joining us Representative Peter DeFazio